And there is big news, Purple. Welcome to you.
There is, Jim. Good afternoon to all of you. And it's not good news from Link McCarthy's perspective, Bill, the Brisbane Lions player, ex-Cats, who, as we know, missed last year with an ACL. He's ruptured the same knee, right knee, in a training moment in recent days. Reported to the club the swelling and the soreness associated with it, and the scans, unfortunately, this has just been released by the Brisbane Lions only moments ago, have come back, and he's out indefinitely again. And for someone who is at clearly the latter end of his career, and someone who I expected, and I think a lot of people expected, to be named in the round one team for the Brisbane Lions this week. So that's how dramatic this is, because he obviously, unfortunately, was one of 4 players who had ACLs at the Brisbane Lions at one stage last year and missed the grand final because of it. And yeah, it's just one of the great Brisbane Lions stories, how he turned his career around from injury as a Geelong player into a really crucial member of the group, and then unfortunately was not able to partake and celebrate personally in the premiership, and now he enters 2025 with a rupturing again of the same knee.
How old?
I'll just check that. Ramsey's going to check that for us as we keep talking, but he'd be beyond 30.
31 maybe, yeah. Thanks, Will. That's 31. That was quick.
Thank you for passing that on. But no, it's just a shame, isn't it? And they'll obviously get to play their first game this week against the team they beat in the grand final, because they had their game in opening round postponed until round 3. So this will be their first hit out on the weekend. They've had to get out of Brisbane because of all the weather event associated with Cyclone.
Can't train there, can they?
They can get up to, I think they're going up to Sydney tomorrow, I think.
Can't train.
Haven't been able to. No, I think they trained indoors, but they weren't able to for a number of days as a result of what was going on up there. Other news, and Tom Morris actually broke this last night, and it has been again released in the last few moments by the Essendon Football Club. That is, Brad Scott has got a contract extension, so has already coached 2023 and 2024. Yep. He was on the books already for 2025 and 2026, and they, in the seeking and searching for stability, the club has added the 2027 year for him. So a clean runway now of 3 years as of right now for Brad. And I know that you, Jim, would endorse that, given it was a similar path that you took as a club when you were at North Melbourne, and Brad started his coaching career back there. Yeah,
you need stability. He's turned over half the list in the last 2 years. I just get the feeling, Purple, I don't know the club well enough, that's obvious, but he looks to me that he's now starting to get what he wants on and off field. He's starting to get the people he trusts, the players he trusts. They've won half of their games in that time.
11 wins in both your seasons.
Which isn't a bad effort when you think about all the players they have turned over. But I would expect Essendon from now to start really forging its way forward.
Yeah, I think they're going to need to start doing that. And he's on record today in speaking about as it was at the time, the possibility of the extension, which has been confirmed, that he's trying to hit go this year. There's no thought that this year's a holding pattern position for them. So it is go. They've got Friday night game, Bill, against their great rival Hawthorn. So there's, I heard you were saying before, massive expectations in the mid-80s.
I thought 70, but Jimmy's saying mid-80s.
It could be
up into
high 80s by the time we get to Friday
home game
night.
Is it? Hawthorn.
Yeah, it is going to be massive. You mentioned also that Isaac Kako will make his debut.
Good.
As will Jackson Pryor, an ex-Brisbane Lions player. So a couple of new faces there for the Essendon Footy Club. Just not sure if you caught up with it, but James Worpel, who damaged his ankle against the Sydney Swans last Thursday night, as it was, came through yesterday. It was at the lower end range of what it could have been. It's a moderate grade, just to give it the official diagnosis, syndesmosis. They're saying 3 to 4 weeks. I often add 1 to 2, at least in my back of my mind, when clubs release these types of.
Is that what you do?
I do. As a rule, it serves you pretty. It serves you well, Bill.
Yeah.
So make it 4 to 5. Right?
In the back
make
of
it 4 to 5.
So that's 5.
Yeah. Bill's just rambling in the background.
Yeah. But it could have been half a season, as we feared at one stage. So you take that. They've obviously got injuries still, and they're indefinite injuries to Mitch Lewis and Kel Shadir up in the forward line there.
Exactly.
You know those uncles that when you sit at a family dinner and they just ramble at the end of the table and no one knows what they're saying. They're just words are coming out.
And everyone goes, there he goes again.
There he goes again. We'll just ignore him and keep having the conversation.
Do you know there'll be more? 20,000 people more. 20,000 people more.
That conversation.
On Friday night than Thursday night. You wouldn't have thought that a couple of years ago, would you?
Wouldn't you?
Well, Richmond Carlton, that's a big one, of course.
Yeah.
There are going to be 20,000 more people the next night.
Yeah.
Hawthorn Essendon. There you go. There's something for you.
Thank you, Uncle.
They were getting 100,000 crowds in the 80s, Bill, in those grand finals.
Well, the Brisbane, the GWS Giants, Damo, could not, for me, have been more impressive.
Yeah.
I said to we talked about this last year. I said to my third son, George, the start of the finals last year, who's going to win? And I said, well, I think GWS are the best team in it. And they went straight out. And he goes, well, that just shows what you know. I said to him, I still think they're the best team in it. They just found a way to lose 2 finals.
Well, to remind people, they were 5 goals up against the Swans.
Yes.
And 44 points up against the Lions, who, just to remind people again, made the grand final on the back of beating GWS on the way through. So
but it looks like they've had a cracking off-season, and that was it was very impressive to watch.
It was, because they did it without the Tom Green influence in the middle, who he was already out for some time in advance, and then Jesse Hogan broke the thumb in the toilet door, and I still believe that story. I don't know how, but I do believe it, yes. We knew that Jake Stringer, who they wanted to unveil in the game, didn't play, and
you know who I like? The coach.
Yeah.
And Craig McRae said something. Big Kingers just started walking to it. I reckon Craig shit himself. He goes, oh, jeez.
Well, he's a big boy.
I know. That's what I thought.
He's got the big pipes.
Craig's gone back and sat down. He's come over with the big pipes.
You know, he said sit down when he sat down.
He did?
He absolutely actually said sit down, and he did sit down. He did look as though he was admonished, didn't he?
Oh, he was
really
walking over there to grab him and do what Chief did to you.
They are mates, though. That is true.
They are mates, yeah. And just prior to saying sit down, he said, you're better than that. Yeah. And Craig, I think, heard that and go, I probably should be. And then he sat down.
Did you hear Max Gawn this morning on the...
Yeah, I didn't hear it, but I am aware of it. We may as well...
listen.
Craig has form. Craig went hard at Alex Neil-Bullen, who was tagging Dacos last year for us. I've never seen Goody do it personally. I've been on the bench when he's had a little bit of a go at an umpire, maybe from a long way out, but not in terms of opposition players. So I don't know.
Where's the line?
When I see Chris Scott do it with Geelong, I'm like, geez, it'd be cool to have a coach that backs his players in that much. I'm not saying Goody doesn't, but then...
Hit hard from the box.
Yeah, when you're on the other end of it and you see Craig have a go at Alex Neil-Bullen last year, you're like, that's a bit much. So I'm not sure. I sort of sit on the fence a bit.
That's from Nick in the morning. You can grab it on the listener app.
Oh, Nibbles.
The vice captain of Adelaide.
He's trying to pick off one of Melbourne's biggest players.
Kingsley walking at you.
No, I know. He is an impressive-looking unit.
But it was a funny setup over there because both benches were side by side.
It's probably as close as they are, isn't it?
It would be in all the
without
competition.
The gap in between, as there is at most other venues or a lot of other venues. So, but I'm glad the AFL came down, A, quickly, and B, with the fine only, because I didn't agree with what they did with Kenny Hinkley the previous year in the semi-final, and I think he should, and I must say this seriously, ask for his $20,000 back.
Yes, you won't get it.
No, you won't
very,
get it.
Very hard to get money out of the AFL, people, under any circumstances.
Well, they're looking at clubs putting money where they may not at this stage too, with a few audits, which we need to get to, and we might have someone in the room who needs to address that.
Shut up.
By the way, this Saturday Rub, brand new start time from 11:30.
Which I never agreed to.
So make sure you're listening from 11:30 for the
Jim.
Saturday Rub.
How the hell did that happen?
You won't start
in
till
Geelong.
12. In Geelong.
I'll get down there at 12.
No.
So you get us away.
He's not there.
And you're not even on.
No,
you'll need to get there at 10:15 to get up that lift at Geelong. It's
exactly
right. It works.
Yep, that is true. That is true, Purple. The Saturday Rub off to a flyer, by the way.
Yeah,
Wasn't
Saturday.
it?
Exactly.
Very strong helping.
A good quiz. Very good.
Well, that's Will. If it's a good quiz, that's Will.
Will. Took 3 segments.
Isaac Smith in for Bill this weekend.
The Izzy Quizzy.
Izzy.
Well, that's good. He does a better job.
Bounce around a couple of other stories. The Geelong Footy Club being audited. Now it's a standard audit. It's at least 2 to 3 clubs each year the AFL looks at in its own little way, and the Geelong Footy Club is one. There has been some talk around, given the whole Bailey Smith thing with Cotton in, which everyone around that will say was Cotton on, was in existence, Bill, before he became a cat, and it was in existence as him as a Bulldog. Obviously, the Chris Scott Morris finance suggestion, but past players, Bill, have become part of this.
Of course they have.
No, they don't.
Latest look, Bill.
Of course they have.
And specifically the ones from the 80s.
You've been on the
and may have played in some losing grand finals and may still be on club or off club books, but getting some benefit of being the next Geelong. I'm talking about petrol cards, Bill.
Every car's the lot.
No.
I think it's all part of the AFL audit.
I don't think so. I don't
will
think
be.
so. It's an audit, not an investigation.
And when you eventually go down, sucked in. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I
You've
don't
been
get
hiding
paid.
stuff away forever.
I don't get paid for doing the pivots.
Neither should you.
So I get sign jumpers.
You don't pay for the beers you
You
drink
shouldn't
there,
get paid.
Well, I get a free feed and frothies. Don't worry about that.
That's all.
Yeah, I should get paid.
No.
It's a great coterie group. Raised a lot of money. But this is all audited by the AFL. You're talking with Geelong, which happens every year, yes?
Yeah, it does.
And is it about clubs that are whinging about Geelong?
There's a fair bit of disharmony about Geelong.
Whinging?
Yeah. But only from the perspective that clubs are, I think, jealous of Geelong, Bill, for being able to sell a region, which Jim doesn't like, but footballers seem to like.
I was going to say, in my day, no one had come near bloody Geelong, would they?
It was a
Dwayne Russell and Darren Steele and Tim McGrath might float down and play for us, but the people...
Darren Steele.
Liam Pickering.
And Pickers, he put his nose in there. But exactly, so it's great work-life balance down there.
Right.
Is that
And
Ken
they can
Wood?
have their own little farms and things like that.
Does Ken Wood still investigate
I
clubs?
think Ken was
No, I don't think
past.
Ken.
Right, okay.
The one who I think was a cuddly bear, but Andrew Demetrio tried to make out as though he was the grizzly. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, sucked in, fat.
Oscar Allen's interesting situation as we enter 2025 because of his captaincy status at the West Coast Eagles and his refusal, for valid reasons, to yet commit to the West Coast Eagles, who are in a very interesting predicament with Andrew McQualter beginning his coaching career, with the need to convince Harley Reid to stay beyond the contract he's got for 2026 already. And equally important amongst all that is the pursuit of Chad Warner. So they're trying to present themselves. And he, at this stage, from what we can tell, Bill, is just holding out on the term of the deal with the Eagles. He wants longer than they've given him. And there are
But he hasn't
offers.
played a lot of footy.
He didn't play beyond the 14 games last year. Now, back in 23, kicked the 50-plus goals and had a really good year in a struggling team. So can seriously play. The Hawks are into him, Jim. Other clubs are into him.
You would be.
It's important, I think, from a West Coast perspective that he stays. And I do hope for him and that club that can come to terms. Exciting times, isn't it, for the Richmond Footy Club? Massively, I think.
What's exciting?
It's exciting because Sam Lawler, Luke Traynor and Harry Armstrong are going to be playing their debut games of football against Carlton. And I'm with you, Bill, on the fact
How
that
many
they
games
will
are they
struggle.
going to win?
Well, they won 2 with some good players last year, still on lists. They've got less good players on paper, at least, on their lists. I mean, 2 to 3 to 4 would be about the...
Really?
Yeah.
That'd be great. If they won 4, that'd be a great result.
I tend to agree with you. And you do even fear what could happen result-wise on Thursday night. But for Sam Lawler, Luke Traynor and Harry Armstrong. And Luke Traynor, Jim, obviously the trainer name at North Melbourne is synonymous there with power broking behind the scenes for a long time.
Absolutely. And Harry Armstrong played with my young bloke Fred at Sandy Dragons in Haileybury. He's a bloody good kid too. So they've got some really good high-level talent there. But they are kids.
Yeah.
It's going to take some time.
It's going to take a lot of time.
Yep. Jamarra Ugle-Hagan, just reading what Luke Beveridge said to Pete Ryan and the Age in the past 2 or 3 days.
What did you get out of
It's
that?
not happening quickly, and we had known that, but it's the first time Luke Beveridge has addressed it publicly, and you just get the sense now that there was a complete breakdown of trust. And again, we had known that, and we'd had that as a narrative in the media as well, but to see now Luke Beveridge contribute to that, and I think he's done it in a very respectful and clever way, but it's not something where he's just going to be going through a good couple of training sessions and is picked. There's a lot of work to wade through there because of all of that. So and that's inclusive of the injuries they've already got going into this game against North Melbourne in round 1.
Bit of a danger game, that. North have had a pretty good pre-season.
They have. I did have a good look at, well, pretty good is the right way to say it. I did have a look at the Dogs and Hawthorn that last hit out, and they were bloody good. The
Dogs were good, yes.
So even though they've got stars out, I still think they're going to be a tough team to beat for North Melbourne.
What's the link to the Dockers?
And Finn O'Sullivan will make his debut for North in that game.
With Bevo.
The link, Bill, is one that the clubs are talking about. So the two clubs that go into 25 without guarantees on their coach beyond it, Fremantle, and they made, I think, a convoluted statement recently about Justin Longmuir going onto
the books,
an employment arrangement. Ultimately, my take of it was, my deciphering of it was, you need to make finals and win a final in order for that to happen. So he's out of contract, I feel anyway, beyond this year. Equally, Luke Beveridge is too. And he has created that situation as much as the Bulldogs. I don't know how close they are to a potential conversation of a high-end nature right now, but it's interesting. And the connection is Simon Garlick, Bill, who was the CEO of the Bulldogs in 2014 when he was on a subcommittee, which Luke Darcy led powerfully and identified Luke Beveridge and went and got. But there is a relationship there to speak of. And clearly he's going to be a person of interest, Luke, if indeed he is not at the Bulldogs.
At the Dogs. Sunday Footy Show.
I liked it.
Did you like it with the tennis balls?
Yes, I wondered where it was going.
We're waiting for something.
And I saw the chompers get nice and annoyed, which is the first bit I liked. And then Purple, you kept pushing him, which was good. And I noticed a few others sat back in their seat. They weren't getting as involved. But then suddenly, down came the tennis balls.
Yeah, right.
And I liked it.
And then Nathan, being the immature man that he was, one of those balls just fortuitously bounced up into his grasp, and then he ripped it really hard right into
Threw
the
it
guts.
straight into the chompers.
How was the chomper at the ad
Afterwards?
break?
I think he was glad the 2 hours are over in the end, Bill. No, look, happy to say it now because it was said on air on Sunday morning. Management weren't allowing us to go there.
Right.
So,
Well, you would have had good viewing numbers, I'd imagine.
I didn't even check them.
Well, they would have, because there would have been everyone. Everyone
expecting.
loves a
Dialed in.
stoush.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they would have been tuning in, and that's all you want in our game.
Yes. Are we talking about the Fox Footy wrap, or we banned like his management
Sunday
banning?
Footy Show, I can see it here. It's done very nicely.
Has it?
900,000 total people watching.
Oh, jeez.
So you're
number.
very happy with that.
There's the
Sounds a big
numbers
number,
when I
Jimmy.
was on it.
And that comes because there's a stoush.
When I was on it, there was those sort of numbers.
Nothing like that.
Has that Fox Footy wrap's been cut?
Cut.
It's been given the wrap.
Yeah.
Someone's wrapped it up.
Lasted, I believe, about 12 hours.
Well
was.
done, Purple. Good
Thanks,
to see
Ross.
you.